on the sign language interpretation this afternoon. Now, DAP Kenya Party leader Eugene Wamalwa is urging the newly constituted IEBC to urgently develop a clear roadmap for the 2027 general election, warning that any false start could be disastrous, not only for the commission, but for the country. Wamalwa also accused the Ruto administration of weaponizing the criminal justice system to silence dissent, citing the Use of Prevention of Terrorism Act and the Cybercrimes Act to target digital activism and suppress free speech, particularly among the youth. Let's listen in.
That the criminal justice system has been fully weaponized by this government against its own citizens, and the law is being used to tarnish, or rather to crush dissidents. The Prevention and Terrorism Acts and the Computer Misuse and Crimes Act are two pieces of legislation that have become weapons of choice for the current regime to clamp down on digital activism and stifle free speech and constitutionally generated freedom, guaranteed freedom of expression, particularly by the youth of Kenya. Yesterday, my learned friend Biko and I were at DIC headquarters representing the famous TikToker Godfrey Masiaga, aka Ken Mayo, who was arrested on the 9th of July 2025 for demanding that the DCI stops the abductions, enforced disappearance, and extrajudicial killings of young Kenyans. He's called for an end to police brutality and for justice for Gen Zs abducted and killed by the blood-based government, including Denzel Omondi, Rex Masai, and Albert Ojwang landed him in the cells. Kibet Bull was abducted for drawing caricatures and stillhouses of politicians and using his artistic talents to critique the powers that be. Rose Jerry was arrested for using her IT skills to carry out civic education and enlighten Kenyans on the finance bill of 2025. Cybercrime Act is being used to clamp down on dissidents and particularly intimidate young Kenyans using social media to speak truth to power. The Prevention of Terrorism Act has been used to charge almost 100 young Kenyans, protesters and their so-called sponsors with terrorism offenses that under Section 4 of the Act carry up to 30 years in prison if convicted, and a life sentence, in spite of the fact that Section 2 of the same Act exempts protesters from the provisions of this Act which carry capital punishment. This is tantamount to criminalizing the right to protest and picket guaranteed under Article 37 of our Constitution, making protests treasonable and expensive ventures that could land you in prison for 30 years or life and make you face hefty and strenuous bail conditions is calculated to instill fear and prevent young Kenyans from exercising their democratic and constitutionally guaranteed rights of freedom of expression, of assembly and protesting and picketing. That is why many Kenyans are saying one term, because they can't afford another term of this amount of bloodshed, another term of this amount of bleeding of our country with corruption and political intolerance to calls for accountability and good governance by the Gen Z. Human rights activists like Boniface Mwangi and the opposition who have been
Elsewhere,